Hello, I'm Dr. Ruth Neustifter. I'm an associate professor at the University of Guelph in the Couple and Family Therapy program, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how to discuss emotions more successfully in your non-monogamous relationships. But spoiler, this could actually be useful for any type of relationship. So, what is a non-monogamous relationship? Well, kind of the umbrella term that's getting used lately is polyamory. And that's not really an umbrella term. It's actually a fairly specific term about certain types of relationships, poly meaning many and amory meaning loves. So these are relationships in which there's high emotional investment in multiple romantic partners. It's not just about sex, it might not even include sex at all, depending on your situation. And it is transparent and consensual. Everyone is aware of what's happening, and people are working together to respect each other and to create boundaries and freedoms that work best for the people involved. In polyamorous relationships, there can be a lot of feelings. Oh my goodness, a lot of feelings. All of the feelings that you would have in monogamous relationships, times however many partners, plus all the feelings that those relationships set off with each other as well. That doesn't make it a bad idea, although it could be a bad idea for some folks. Certainly, neither monogamy nor non monogamy is good for everybody. That's why it's great to have choice and the ability to talk with each other and see how we want to explore together or solo. But it does mean that things are complicated. And of course, one relationship is plenty complicated. When you have multiple relationships going on, it can be even more complicated. So, how we deal with our feelings and how we discuss the feelings that things bring up becomes really, really important. Now, another thing that can make non monogamy more challenging, although this can happen in any type of relationship, is that there's a lack of role modeling and scripts. So, kind of assumptions or ideas that we sort of all share within certain cultural groups or within certain families or within certain regions about how things are done. So, for instance, things like how we navigate who's going to hold the door for who with certain kinds of eye contact and body language and cultural rules of politeness and things like that. That differs from place to place and from person to person, right? And those are our scripts or assumptions about how to do that kind of interaction. On a more complicated level, we have all kinds of scripts and assumptions and images we see in the media or in our families growing up or with our friends about how to handle different situations and relationships. Now, if you're in a relationship that doesn't have a lot of representation, like for instance, polyamorous relationships, then you don't have as many of these examples to go from to help guide you. And so it can feel like you're kind of inventing the relationship as you go, which is unfortunate and oftentimes kind of unnecessary. There are a lot of great resources out there for non monogamy. I'm a big fan of things written by Kathy Labriola, for instance, but there's lots of good resources out there. But even so, reading about things from books or going to classes or workshops can only give us so much because we're not really seeing these things happen all around us and having such an opportunity to gauge whether we like the way some people are doing things or not, and then trying them out and patterning ourselves in ways that work for us in our relationships. We don't have as many opportunities to kind of try the stuff out that we're seeing. We're just winging it and hoping that it works more or less. So, big feelings happen that way. And when we're having big feelings in our relationships, it can be really difficult to talk about them. It can be difficult to listen to them from other people. And it can be really difficult to figure out what to do to help alleviate those feelings. That can lead to situations that get really uncomfortable and are almost bound to fail. So, for instance, somebody says that they're feeling jealous or envious or sad or hurt, and the other person says, "Oh, I'll just stop. I'll just stop doing what I'm doing. We won't do this anymore. I won't see this person anymore." And while on the surface that may seem loving and caring, what's actually happened is that the person who had the concern has kind of been told to shut up. Um, that's not the intention. Probably it came from a big place of love or concern about the relationship or guilt or whatever the case may be. But when we say, "Oh, I'll just stop doing the thing," then we've taken away the opportunity to discuss and process and problem solve with our partners and the people at hand. So, what we need to be able to do is kind of back it up a little bit and think about how we can describe more about what we need from our feelings and come to a better understanding about them. The first step in this is recognizing that for a lot of people, we tend to just have big chunky feelings. And as you can hear, my cat has some pretty big chunky feelings too. So those can look like our basic feelings like fear, anger, disgust, sadness, happiness, surprise. Those, different experts on emotions have kind of different lists of what the main emotions are, but those are some common ones, those six: anger, disgust, sadness, fear, happiness, and surprise. The thing you might notice is that there's only, potentially two or maybe one and a half of them that sound very positive: happiness and surprise. The rest, fear, anger, disgust, and sad, don't sound so great, and there's more of those. So I don't think that that means that humans are necessarily more unhappy than they are happy. That's going to differ by person and situation for sure. But it does mean that there are a lot of options out there to try to figure out when we're distressed and trying to handle our emotions. So, the first thing that I encourage folks to do is to think about what's the big chunk of emotion that you're having, and can you alert the person that you're talking with or the people that you're talking with that you're having a big feeling? So, one of these six or however many you have kind of big feelings. That means it's inviting everyone to calm down and to focus on regrounding and recognizing that something big has come up that we need to sort out, that we want to be a good team together on, a good relationship together on, and we can work together to help make this better in addition to doing our own personal work. When we have isolated kind of that big feeling, I'm like, okay, I'm not angry and I'm not disgusted and I'm not I don't even think I'm afraid or surprised. I think I'm just sad. Let's say that's the example. I'm just feeling sad. The next thing we want to do is to try to break that down into more specific feelings. So, one way that we can do this is to ask ourselves, what am I afraid is going to happen or is happening again? What am I afraid that I'm going to lose, perhaps, or not get? What what concerns are in the back of my mind that I might not even want to admit to myself? And what do those mean about the more specific feelings that are happening? So when it comes to sadness, maybe I'm feeling guilty, or I'm worried that I'm going to be abandoned or feeling abandoned. Perhaps I'm lonely. Perhaps I'm judging myself and I'm feeling like kind of pathetic about who I am. Perhaps I'm having a sense of despair or anguish. Maybe I'm feeling depressed or lonely. When we break it down into these sub feelings, we get to something that's easier to communicate and easier to work with. So if I say to someone, I'm just really upset right now and I can't handle this situation and I can't believe you treat me this way, those might be very valid points, but they're not going to help us get our needs met. I'm just alerting that there's distress. So I need that safe space co-created with myself and other people who are safe and non-abusive and who are all dedicated together to good support and kindness and communication and love. So then the next thing is, all right, so like tell me about the sadness. What's going on for you? And I would say, well, you know what? I'm feeling really guilty. I'm feeling really guilty because this other non-monogamous relationship that I know broke up, and I feel like I'm like failing the people around me who are depending on me to be solid and stable, right? Now that's a bigger thing than I am sad or I am afraid. Now we've broken it down into the more specific feelings, and there's some needs attached to those or some concerns attached to those. And that is much more easy to communicate with others about and a much better starting place for figuring out how to get our needs met. This can also happen with happy stuff too. And I really encourage people to think about this with happy stuff. Why am I feeling happy or joyful? What is that about? What is this bringing up for me? You know what? I'm actually feeling like really proud and really peaceful right now. Whatever the thing may be, we can also immerse ourselves in those more positive feelings. If you'd like more information on this stuff, you can look up emotion wheel or wheel of emotions. There's a bunch of them out there that you can Google. This is a kind of well-known tool that's out there, and you can start learning about different types of feelings and how they break down. If you haven't been encouraged to really get to know your feelings and emotions well, this is a great tool for beginning that journey so that you can become more emotionally literate and a better communicator with yourself as well as with other people in your life, especially in really complicated, big emotion things like non monogamy. I'm Ruth Neustifter, and I hope that this has been helpful for you.